Hello, welcome to another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian, Pace reporting live here at the Iridium Jazz Club here in New York City. Bassist Buster Williams is playing with the Something More Quartet featuring the likes of Cindy Blackman-Santana on drums, Steve Wilson on alto and soprano saxophones, and the legendary Patrice Rushen on piano. For 50 years, Buster has accompanied the likes of McCoy Tyner, Herbie Hancock, Dakota Staton, Sarah Vaughan, the list goes on and on. Tonight on the Pace Report, we're going to talk about his career, the Something More Quartet, as well as his latest CD featuring Stefan Harris on Vibes. Something More Quartet. This group is something more. I mean, you've got the legendary Steve Wilson, Patrice Rushen, and Cindy Blackman. Mm-hmm. This group has been together since, well, you formed this group in the early 90s.
Well, I formed Something More in 1990, actually. And it's, the personnel has changed over the period of years. But Steve joined me in 1990, actually. And Patrice came on board, I guess, somewhere in this century, 2000. And Cindy also. You know, the personnel varies, but we come together in different configurations, you know? So all together, we've all been together for about these 20 years.
You have some very fresh and innovative compositions in this quartet. I noticed that now you're putting more of an emphasis on your writing, and you have been for the last 20 years. How is it that you pretty much know what to bring to this group?
Well, I write what I write, you know, and one of the reasons why, or one of the things that told me that it was time for me to form a band was a CD that I did entitled Something More. And I actually did that CD in the late 80s. It didn't come out in this country until until the 90s. But I wrote the music for this CD, and I put a band together and perform the music on the CD. And I enjoyed it. And because I had always said, I was always felt that I wasn't going to put a band together until I enjoyed playing what I wrote. And I enjoyed playing what I wrote. And as time went by, I still liked that music. So I said, okay, yeah, it's definitely time for me to form a band. And that's what made me know that it was time, and the band wouldn't just be an experimental thing, but something that I could create and then truly write for the sounds that I hear in the band and the musicians that I choose to play.
To, when you started early on in your career, to accompany four of the most prolific and pretty much the deans of vocal jazz, Dakota Staton, Nancy Wilson, Betty Carter, Sarah Vaughan. What was it like coming out pretty much out of college and just going on the road? What were some of the things that you learned from them, and what are some of the things that you imply or use when you play with your unit that you learned from those guys many years ago?
Well, I left home with Gene Ammons and Sonny Stitt in 1961. In 1960, I had just gotten out of high school. And after being with Gene Ammons and Sonny Stitt for about a year, maybe a year and a half, I joined Dakota Staton. And Dakota had a big hit called The Late Late Show, and she was riding the crest of that big hit. And I was maybe 19 years old by that time, and I learned the excitement of a performance with Dakota Staton. She believed in the pace of the set, and the open with something big, and fast. That's how she liked to open with something fast and exciting. In fact, we opened with no, it wasn't The Late Late Show. I forget what it was that we opened with. But I learned many things from her. From singers, I really learned how to listen. And that's the real key to playing these instruments, how well you can listen. And, for a young musician, that's the hardest thing to to understand. Because you're working on your things and you're trying to produce, and your anxiety and zeal is to show what you know so far, what you learned today while you were practicing. But to listen is to learn how to apply. Because if you play what you know, and you put it in the wrong place, and it's not fitting with everything else that's going on, then it's lost. It means absolutely nothing. And with these singers, I had to really listen, because all these singers that I played with really relied on the bass player. So Sarah Vaughan had perfect pitch. I had to play in tune. Betty Carter, she had a way of singing a ballad that was so slow you could have lunch between beat 1 and beat 2. So patience. Nancy Wilson, she had such a love for the bass that we did many duos together. In fact, with Sarah and Betty Carter also. I never did any duos with Dakota, except that there was a few things that we did where it started with just bass and voice. I played the intro and then she would enter. Then the band would come in at the release. But so there was something in particular that I learned from each one, how to play in tune with Sarah Vaughan, patience with Betty Carter, and Nancy Wilson, and also swing. How does Betty Carter, she could swing.
Your latest CD features Stefan Harris, who's pretty much the continuing torch of the vibes right now. In fact, Roy Ayers hails him as one of his favorite vibraphonists. What was it like asking him to perform on this disc, and what was the direction you wanted to go on this?
I like Stefan. I called Stefan to work with me when I was putting together a band to play at Sweet Basil. Sweet Basil was in existence. And I had Gary Bartz on alto, and I think I had Carlos McKinney on piano and Victor Lewis on drums. And I wanted a fifth voice. And I was thinking about vibes, but I didn't know who I would call. I was talking to Steve Turre, and he had just recorded a CD, and he was telling me about this vibus that he used on his CD that was really fantastic, and it was Stefan Harris. So I took a chance and called Stefan, which is, something that I very rarely do. I had never heard him, but I was so impressed with the way Steve Turre talked about him that I trusted that he would bring forth what I was looking for, and he did. He's fast and willing And what he doesn't understand, he will observe so that he does understand in short order. He's brilliant. He's brilliant. And his writing and arranging is so fresh, so unique, so Stefan. I can't say enough about him. And I really like his sensitivity, and I like the sound of the quartet with Stefan's vibes.
That'll do it again for another edition of the Pace Report, reporting live here at the Iridium Jazz Club here in New York City. I'd like to personally thank Buster Williams for his time, as well as the staff and management here at the Iridium. As always, please visit my website, www.thepacereport.com, for my weekly column as well as my past segments. Until next time, remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Until next time, peace.